Again, some of our environmental violators aren't real bright. I'm going to point a couple things out to you on this particular instance. These are two guys that they decided they were going to junk the car. And we're going to take it to a salvage yard that's over here on Pinemont, very big place, runs a clean operation. They have the car that's closest to us is their car that they're driving home in. And the car in front of them without the trunk is the one that they're going to salvage. They drive both cars to the salvage yard, which means the number one car that they're going to salvage runs. Anybody see the sign for $300 on the corner? You know, for a car that runs? There's somebody that'll buy that. But they didn't think so. So they're going to take it to the salvage yard and get $98 for it. So they get over there to drive it into the salvage yard. Well, all these salvage yards have rules because they can't take cars with any fluids in them, any gas in them, any oil in them, any antifreeze in them, because otherwise they have to dispose of that material and all its hazardous waste for them. So they get in there, the guy at the shop says, "Oh, time out. You drove the car in there, man, it's got all this stuff in it, we can't take it, get it out of here." You know, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do at the company. So these two guys drive back across the street, they're sitting back across the street, and we've had other problems like this before. So we're sitting here, the car that's in the very front there, Explorer, is actually in that parking lot right there. And another one that we're taking a picture from was down the street. And we're watching for this particular problem. So these guys decide, okay, crap, what are we going to do? So they start looking through the car to find what they have to remedy the situation themselves. So one of the things they tell them at the salvage yard is you either have to have the gas tank removed, or you have to have 3 holes in it for us to know that there's no gas in that tank. So they didn't hear anything about removing. They didn't think very well. Now the car they drove here in that they were going to drive home had a quarter tank of gas. The car that they were fixing to junk had 3/4 of a tank of gas. They never saw a connection about a hose anywhere in this operation. Since the car ran there, the gas was apparently good in that car. But they decided to go ahead and find what they could find. They found the jack they had in the car, they found the tire rings, and they found an old piston rod. So they jacked up the car with a piston rod in and put it in the gas tank. They didn't quite get it to puncture it right off the bat, so they both jumped in the trunk and jumped up and down a little bit. Really made for a good video. Until they could get the hole. And then they drained 3/4 of a tank of gas out of the city right away. Not a good thing. They went to jail, they didn't collect anything for their car. And we gave them a place to stay for 6 months. Another common problem that we have is going to be people call us about random things that just occur. This is a particular dead-end street over off of the West Beltway. It's between a couple major companies. The companies are up front of the Beltway, they got a lot of property behind it. There's a city street that dead ends at a bayou, and the street never went through, so it just goes into a subdivision on the other side. So we were getting complaints about the fact that a lot of mechanic work was being done on this dead-end street, especially on the weekends. It was annoying the residents, and they were causing pollution. We went down there and checked it out. During the week, sure enough, a lot of oil in the bayou, a lot of staining, filters and things in the bayou. So we decided to sit back and we'd go down there on the weekend. And we did. We went down there on the weekend. We'd catch a guy doing it. We'd lock him up, go take him to jail, go to the office, look at paperwork, go back out there. There'd be, 25 other people there now. Catch another one doing it, lock him up. It just wasn't doing any good. We could keep going back there, we catch one at a time, and we could do this all day long, and it wasn't really making a splash or an impact. So what we decided to do is we'd sit back and we would sit out there for 2 weekends. And what we did is we sat back and filmed and watched the discharge. As we did this, we filmed to get photo and facial shots. We got 2 hours of running it, we were able to pick up 20 of the 21 we had warrants for and put them in the thing. News media made a big splash on it. We gave them a lot of pictures of there was about 10 that we could not identify properly, so we couldn't issue warrants for them. About 5 o'clock in the evening, I get a call at home. Number 21 turned himself into the Harris County Jail, which was fine with us. And then I get a call about 9 o'clock that evening, and from the jail he goes, "We got another one here." He said he saw himself on the TV, and he's here to turn himself in. Well, we didn't have a warrant for him. Well, we just told him to go ahead and have the city pick him up, put him in our jail. We'll be more than happy to oblige him first thing in the morning. So the big joke in our division is if you can get 22 crooks for 21 warrants, you beat that record. The other thing we see a lot of is chemicals and things being done throughout the city, usually in containers such as these, drums, a lot of expensive stuff. Again, they just don't want to pay to get rid of it. Some dumpings are bigger than others. You're paying for this. As the citizens of Houston, you're paying to be cleaned up. This is generally what has to happen. Salvage drums, if the drums are in bad shape, salvage drums come out here. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just to clean it up, not to mention dispose of it. So that's part of what we're here to combat. We do get calls about different companies that aren't doing things right. This particular company kept their doors closed a lot. The neighbors finally did see in a couple of times that they were there and saw a lot of chemicals on the place. We, as a city now, are very good at talking to each other. The health department working with the solid waste department, working with the police department, working with the fire department. We now team up and do a lot of this stuff. Normally, if you see this on the news, a lot of times if you see it on the news, or you see the hazmat team out on something like this or a big spill, oftentimes one of those guys is one of our officers with a hazmat team. We're getting in there, getting our evidence that we need to get, so we can make the criminal case against the responsible party in these things. There's our hazmat truck, or HFD's hazmat truck, and there's the health department. We're all in the same, we're still in the same place that those barrels were. Anybody in here own one of those used store places? Good, don't. They're terrible. People are leaving lots of chemicals and those things on a regular basis. We're having lots of problems. Medical waste is another issue that we run across all the time. Again, that's mainly for medical facilities leaving stuff unattended, gets picked up because you leave the bag out there. They got these brilliant red bags. They leave them outside. We leave them outside for 3 minutes. I guarantee it's going to be gone. Just 3 minutes. The dopers know what they are. They come get them. Throw all this is in the city park. They just threw them out, scattered them all over the place, picked up the needles they wanted, and left the rest of them for the kids to find. Now again, I talked about some of our crooks aren't real bright. I like to put for instances in here for people because they really can't understand some of the mentality of things that go wrong. But this particular individual is working at a house. The guy that owns that house does recycling. One of the things he specializes in is barbecue propane tanks off the back of the forklifts and so on. They're no longer serviceable. He cuts them up and sells them for the metal. So he's been doing this for a long time, but he hires this guy, and this is a new employee, local crackhead, and he tells him, okay, he runs him through the procedure. This is what you're going to do. I got these 15 tanks back there. What you're going to do is go in there, you open the valve, turn them upside down, let them bleed out. Okay, sounds pretty simple. So the guy goes back there, opens the tanks up, lets them bleed out. Some of them got stuff in them, some of them don't. He leaves out a couple of important rules. One, he didn't notify him he was in a low spot. His backyard is sort of a low spot in the neighborhood. big rain gets washed out and it comes out and catches it, the Coast Guard does, much to their dismay, obviously. Whole trees, just everything. But most of it is just litter that's coming through the storm drains. So it does have a big impact. I'm going to speed through these a little bit, keep us on schedule. During our patrols, we see all this purple stuff, debris that's in there in the water. We tend to follow it back as a slick in the water. And this is what we're finding. This is what we talked about when I talked about the shipbuilding industry having to make changes years ago, and the power washing industry now, and the automobile industry a few years ago. What kind of paint was used on ships? Lead-based paint. And now he's power washing or blasting, sandblasting that paint off. And where's it going? And why can't you eat fish in the Houston Ship Channel right now? It's because of a lot of the toxins that are in there that we released over the years because nobody was doing any enforcement on these things. And this is the whole marine industry now. They don't do any water side